Got in my car and I can't even remember the journey. I remember pulling up at a motorway bridge and standing on top of a motorway bridge, and I was like, right, have I got the balls to do this? Climbed the pylon, God knows how, 33,000 volts, blew my arm off, blew both of my feet, literally burned to a crisp. Not many people know this, is what I'm going to say now. Actually, I don't think anyone knows it because I haven't really talked about it, and I think that was my turning point.
Was there any specific moment leading up to that where you thought this is, it was like your darkest time, or
Got stabbed in the face. I think that was quite a bad time for me.
what was it that switched something in your head to think, I'm going to go and do that now?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I picked it up really quickly. If I would have played bowls before my accident, I don't think I would have carried it on. I play in county, national, club comps and other leagues, so I'm literally playing 3 or 4 times a week. Done trials for the Commonwealth Power. There was 56 players in the trials. Only 2 went through. Yeah, to be selected out of 56 players down to 2 shows, if you put your mind to it, and you could do anything.
In 2007, Craig hit rock bottom. He decided to climb a pylon and put his arm on 33,000 volts. Craig spent years struggling with his own mental health. In the aftermath of this event, he lost 3 of his limbs, but he's now been given a second chance at life. He's now turned his life around and is a happy father and husband, and is now representing his country in the 2022 Commonwealth Games in July. Craig is a super inspiring guy. He opened up on stuff that he's never ever spoken about to this day with anybody, and we went really, really deep in places. He talks about his family, his inspiration, his motivation, what happened before, during and after his accident, and what he's actually looking to do now with his life. Episode 14 is not to be missed. Please tune in. Before you start this episode, please can you click subscribe below and follow our social handles in the description. It's a massive help and it keeps you up to date with all the exciting announcements from the podcast. Well, Craig, thanks very much for coming on. I appreciate you giving us some time.
You're more than welcome, mate.
Thank you very much. So I always start every single podcast with the same thing, really, which is I like to put that other person under a little bit of pressure. Okay. First question in, so I'm going to throw you into the deep end.
All right, no worries.
I'm going to give you a minute and a half tops, just to take me from your life to this point, so beginning to where we are now.
Okay.
And hopefully what that will force you to do is touch upon anything that stands out in your mind about certain situations that have happened in your life. So you don't have to go into a load of detail, it can be quite high level, but just a minute and a half to go from kind of youth to this point.
Okay.
You up for the challenge?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Take it away.
Right. So, being a young age, I was never good at school. I was not naughty, but one of your cheeky chappies that sort of like didn't really listen, didn't enjoy. So I literally left school at the age of 14.
Yep.
Started working on a market as a normal, making extra money. My mum was bringing 3 children up, me and 2 brothers. Had a good life, went to college, trained to become a bricklayer. So I've done that for 3 years, MVQ 1 and 2. Had a good career, good job, everything was going good. I had good friends and all that, and then out of the blue I just started feeling a bit depressed in myself. Just didn't want to get up out of bed. Just felt really, really horrible, and it went on for months, but I never talked to anyone about it. I didn't go to the doctors, didn't speak to my mum, my friends, they didn't even notice. I covered it up. The way I covered it up was being loud, just making people laugh and just being bubbly on the outside when deep inside I was literally dying, And I'll never forget it. I woke up one morning. I weren't in a good place. I didn't even go to work that day. Just stayed in the bedroom. Mum said, "Are you alright?" I said, "Yeah, I'm not feeling very well." And then later on that evening, I think it was about 6:30. I got in my car, and I can't even remember the journey. You know, my head just must have just a nervous breakdown or just went. You know, can't remember getting in the car. I remember pulling up at a motorway bridge and standing on top of a motorway bridge, and I was like, right, have I got the balls to do this? And I looked down, and the first thing went through my mind was, just imagine if I went through a car window and they had children or something, you know. So I felt really guilty, so I got off the bridge. Next minute I know, I looked up, see a pylon, can't remember climbing the pylon, must have climbed the pylon, God knows how. Grabbed hold of the pylon, 33,000 volts, literally blew my arm off, missed everything inside my body. Blew both of my feet, literally burnt to a crisp, and apparently I was lying unconscious in the field for about 4 hours. I must have crawled to the side of the road about 50 yards, can't remember any of it, and then collapsed on the side of the road. And I'll never forget, my neighbour found me. He finished work early, so this must have been 11 o'clock at night. So my neighbour found me, see the car first, see me lying on the side of the road, called an ambulance. I think the ambulance were there within 10 minutes, rushed me to Milton Keynes. They said, you know, he's too bad here, we need to get him over to Stoke Mandeville. So they were going to fly me to Stoke Mandeville, but the heliport was not working or lighting up, so they rushed me in an ambulance, took me to Stoke Mandeville, and they put me in a reduced coma for about a month and a half. And I remember waking up first time with my arm gone, but I don't think I realised my arm had gone because I was so drugged up and very dazed, tubes everywhere. And I remember looking down at my feet and they were both wrapped up, and I said, "Well, why are they wrapped up?" And they said, "Oh, you know, you've been electrocuted. I think we're going to try and save your feet." I said, "Can I have a look?" And they said, "I don't think you want to." I said, "No, I want to have a look at my feet." And they unwrapped them, and I think I had like 3 toes on it, and it was absolutely like charcoal, like a log in a fire. And I thought, they ain't saving that. And then obviously went back into induced coma. I think 2 weeks later I woke up, and I think the first thing I see was a big picture of me on a wall, which made me laugh. I was the first ever streaker at MK Dons.
Yeah.
It was a year before my accident. I think I was bored. I just wanted, because they were getting so bad publicity because of the Wembley, you know, coming down to MK Dons nicking their player. So I thought, right, I'll do that. So I've done that for a laugh. So I remember waking up seeing that. That could have gone 2 ways because obviously there's a big picture of me starfish. But I just laughed and I thought, you know what, I'm still here. And then I started coming out of the coma quite early. And I remember, because my mum said, "I think he's moving." They said, "No, he's not going to wake up for another couple of days." But I did actually wake up, and I remember pulling the tubes out. And I think it was me auntie, because my mum couldn't tell me that I'd lost, 2 legs and an arm.
Yeah.
So my auntie told me, but I think there was that big thing, because obviously my depression, they thought, God, how is he going to deal with this now? You know, it can either go one way or the other. But it was hard, and I thought, right, my life's going to be totally different now. I've got to try and live being disabled now for the rest of my life. How am I going to do this? I don't know. So they moved me back to Milton Keynes Hospital, where I was put on a ward, because I had a private room at Stoke Mandeville, big screen, it was lovely, a couple of friends and all family come round. But then I got moved to a traumatic ward in Milton Keynes, and that was an eye-opener. I just burst out crying, it was horrible. And then Abby walked in the room. She was a physio assistant, and she only lived down the road from where I live in Olney, so she's Newport. And because I was born and bred in Newport Pagnell, she knew a lot of people I knew. So that sort of helped me to sort of rebuild me as a person.
Yeah.
And then I was in there for about 4 months, and I'll never forget, I went outside to have a cigarette, and I was sitting in a wheelchair because they made me a special wheelchair, so it had a double thing. So if you went for the outside ring, it went right, left, inside ring, right, and then both together, straight forward, which was great in a hospital because it's all flat.
Yeah.
So I remember going out, and this bird literally shat all over me, and I thought, oh my God, something lucky is going to happen to me then. You
Maybe
know
or
what I
maybe
mean?
not. Yeah, I never really got that.
But then went back in because it was the day I was going. I literally just had a bath, which was hard enough trying to get in the bath with no limbs. I didn't have legs at the time. And Abby was like, you know, can I have your number? I was like, yeah. She said, I'd love to know how you're getting on. You know, we've got quite close as a friend. That's all I thought it would be. And then I went to Nutfield, Oxford, to get my... I mean, she used to put ice on my legs just to keep the swelling down after the operations and stuff like that. So, to this day, after 16 years nearly, she's in my phone as Ice Queen. So, so I went to Stoke Manorville, Nutfield, to learn to walk, and I'll never forget it. I had to do lots of exercise to toughen my arm up and my legs. And I put my legs on for the first time and stood up, and it was quite emotional, you know, being up high after nearly 6 months. And I tried to walk, and the pain was just phenomenal. And I just broke down. I thought, how am I even going to do this, you know? And I'll never forget, the door opened. A bloke walked in, smiling as you like, and he was a quadruple amputee.
Wow.
And I said, why are you so happy? He said, because I'm still here. And that 5 seconds of meeting him just changed my life forever. And I thought, if someone like that can do it, I can do it. Now, the doctor said it would take 3.5 years to walk. I've done it in 6 weeks. And then I got a phone call, and it was Abby, and she said, I'm down at Nutfield to come and see you. And then from there, we sort of...
Hit it off.
Yeah, fell in love, got married, had 2 beautiful children, and yeah, so I come out of hospital in the May. Had a coming out party, big party, which was nice, and I was walking quite comfortably. You know, it was tough, but I got on with it. And I had a walking stick, so they said that I'd have a walking stick for the rest of my life. I think I threw it away in the first year. But it was the support and the friend. You know, they never treated me any different, and I needed that. And then so I ended up doing a charity walk around Olney for disabled children. I think I raised about £3,000 for them, and it was phenomenal. Cars were stopping, taking buckets of money around to it was brilliant, a good day. And then they decided, the charity who I was working for, the Operation Sunshine at the time, asked me if I'd like to go to the Bahamas, and I was like, oh yeah, that'd be nice. And they said, well, you know, we're going to pay for your wife and your mum, you've been through a lot. And then we went out to the Bahamas for 14 days, for 2 weeks, and decided to get married out there on the beach.
Wow. So
we got married out on the beach, October the 31st, Halloween.
Yep.
So I'll never forget the date, anniversary and that. And then we come back, and then we had a blessing on the 11th of January, so her dad could give her away and stuff, so that was nice. And everything was going good, yeah. I mean, you know, I was married, had my friends and family all around me, and things were looking good. And then Norman Kitchener, who's my best mate's wife's dad, said, why don't you come down to Bowls Club and try bowls? And I was like, well, it's an old man's game, isn't it? And he was like, yeah, forget the stigma on that, just come down, enjoy. And within 6 months, I was hooked. You know, and I was becoming really, really good at it, beating everyone in the club. Then I started playing county and national, getting in quarter-final, semi-final. I thought, you know what, I'm loving this. So I played that for like 10 years, and that was a big part of me as dealing with my... Sorry about that.
That's all right, no worries. That's all right.
I thought I was on silent.
Right.
Yeah, so that was a big part of me, my rehabilitation, just to sort of like feel better in myself. And none of them treated me as disabled, none of them. So I started able-bodied bowling first, and obviously having the second name bowler,
Yeah.
you can't write it, can you? And then someone got hold of me and said, "Would you join Disability Bowls England?" And I was like, "Well, it's not really, I'd rather play with able-bodied people, but I'll give it a go." And then within a month joining there, I'd done trials for the Home Nations, and I was selected straight away. We beat Scotland on the home turf and Wales, played indoor and outdoor for the Home Nations, and then done trials for the Commonwealth Power. There was 56 players in the trials. Only 2 went through, so I was like, well, this is going to be... And my friends just play how you normally play. And and then on the 28th of January this year, I got selected for the Power Commonwealth Games, which is phenomenal. And and with my story and everything else, young men should talk with each other. Women do. Blokes, it's that stigma. It's not a good thing, especially on a building site. You can't really open your feelings when you're in that sort of background. But I think it's getting better now. It takes a real man to cry and open up his feelings and talk about how he feels. A wise man told me once, just imagine getting a present every day for a whole year, not opening the present, just sticking it in a cupboard every day for 20 years. That cupboard would just explode. And I think that is what my head done. Because I weren't talking about my feelings, opening up, I was putting it into the back of my head. And then when something did happen, it just exploded. And I think that's what happened to me.
So that takes you full from start to finish in terms of where you are now, which is looking forward to competing for your country.
Oh, big time.
It's an amazing journey.
And to have it on your home turf is just phenomenal. And to be selected out of 56 players down to 2 shows, if you put your mind to it, and you could do anything.
So just on that then, so that we've gone probably years and years then in the space of a few minutes, which is fair enough. I just want to dig into a couple of bits then. So in terms of your kind of upbringing, you mentioned you had a good upbringing, family and stuff like that. So what was kind of young Craig like? What was your kind of upbringing?
All right. I mean, we lived in a little village. I had 2 older brothers, so we were quite close. My upbringing was good. We lived next to a field, farmer over the road, so we were always playing on the farm, hay bales. I had a good life, a really good. There was nothing that would have triggered it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Even looking back, I didn't do well at school, but I didn't enjoy school. Yeah. It wasn't for me. And then I was working at 14-year-old, trying to help my mum pay bills and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
So what was your family setup then? So you and your siblings living with your mum?
Yeah. So you got me and my 2 brothers and my mum. She had boyfriends in and out of life, obviously. Yeah. It's weird because she was so Gary was my stepfather. Well, they weren't married, but he was my mum's boyfriend. So he brought me up from the age of 3 to 7. Yeah. And then they split up, and then they didn't see each other for I think 30 years or something. And then when I had my accident, he got in touch with my mum. Wow. They fell in love again, and they got married.
Thank you very much for supporting the podcast over the last sort of few months or so. We're now getting thousands and thousands of downloads and views every single episode, but that is not all. Big news to come. We're looking for a sponsor for the podcast, and the reason for that is we're looking to take our thousands of downloaders and viewers to tens and hundreds of thousands of downloads and viewers. So if you're interested in sponsoring the podcast, if you're a business owner that wants to get some extra exposure to thousands of people per week, please get in touch. Let's talk at thesilent-entrepreneur.co.uk. So they're together now?
They're together now,
wow.
Yeah. He's my stepdad. Yeah.
So many different, even just in this short bit here, there's so many interesting bits that are kind of parallels and
a lot of goods come out of my accident in a strange way. If I had a choice of my old life, legs and arms, or this life, being like this. I'd choose this life any day of the week.
Which is what I want to get into, really. I think that, you know, when we go through this interview today, that'll be the points that I really want to try and bring out as well with what we're asking for people to listen to, because I think that statement there, people at this early stage might not really understand that. But I think when we go through and we talk about some elements, I think it'll be... So did you have any... What was your sort of dad's influence when you were younger?
Shit, he buggered off, left my mum with 3 kids. I don't think he dealt with the relationship split up, so he ended up moving up north to a place called Burnley.
Okay.
So I didn't see my dad or anything to do with him for probably 35 years.
Really? Wow. Are you in contact now?
I am now, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that because of the accident as well? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got involved, and I thought, you know, after my accident, I didn't want no hate for someone.
Yeah.
I never forgive him for what he's done. You know, I've got children. That's like me walking out. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's what he chose. He regrets it now. But I've always said to him he can make it up with his grandchildren now. I see him twice a year, but that's pretty much it. I mean, there's not, you know, he's my dad at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it was probably all right to find out where I come from. That was a big part of my gap in my life, I suppose, not knowing where I really come from. Apart, obviously, my mum.
So did you go and seek that out? Or was did he come to you?
No, he come to me after my accident. So,
do you think if the accident would have happened, you would have...
Nah.
No?
Nah. Probably not.
No.
He tried before and I was like, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
But I was like 18 at the time. You know, more hurt than anything.
Yeah.
You know, waiting at the window, him promising to come and see us when I was like 3 or 4 and never turning up.
Yeah.
It's a vague memory to me, but my other 2 brothers remember that very well.
Are they older?
Yeah. I've got a middle one, Stuart, he'll be 40, he's 46 now.
Yeah.
And then my older brother, he's 50 this year.
And do they have a relationship with your dad as well?
No, Nigel's got a different dad.
Okay.
So my mum had Nigel when she was 16.
Yeah.
And then my dad took Nigel and my mum on.
Okay.
And then, so...
What was it like growing up with 2 older brothers?
It was all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Nigel was a little bit older, so he had his own friends, cars, and do you know what I mean? Where Stuart I was very close with, all the way up till about 12, and then he got his mates and then one of his younger brother hanging around.
Tagging around, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. But I just tagged around with his friends anyway, which are my friends now.
Yeah.
You know. So
you said you left school at 14. So you didn't really get on with school, just not interested. I mean, very much like me, really. As soon as I could get out of school, I wanted to. Other than seeing your mates and stuff, I just didn't see the benefit of sitting there studying all the time, and I wanted to do something practical and get out there and experience stuff. What was your kind of thought process?
I just didn't enjoy school. I mean, I was dyslexic, and that was never looked at or anything growing up. I mean, growing up in the 80s, it weren't really sort of a thing like nowadays. They pick it up quite quickly, don't they? So I think I just rebelled against all that.
So one day you came home and said, "Mum, I've had enough of this."
Well, yeah, and then
I started, it sort of went down.
Well, I got expelled. To be fair, not many people know that. I got expelled at 12 years old.
Okay.
And then I went to a naughty boys' school.
Do you mind me asking what you got expelled for?
I think it was fight. I don't like bullies. I never have done. So when the bullies pick on someone, I ended up beating the bullies up, and then I was classed as a rogue.
Yeah.
Where I wasn't. I was just...
You thought you were doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, sticking up for yourself.
And I'll probably
and all that
do
stuff,
it even now. You know, I hate bullies, and I'm the first one to jump in or do something. Do you know what I mean? I mean, that's why I got a blooming big scar down my face, because I jumped in on her.
Tell me about
that. Well, that was probably, looking back now, was the turning point that my head went, I think.
What? Negative?
Yeah.
Okay, so we were... So how old were you when you got that scar? After you left school?
Yeah. So I was 20... So when was my accident? 27 I was, so 27, 26. I think I was 25 years old.
Yeah.
So I've got a mate, everyone's got one of their mates that just drinks too much, right? Yeah. He's small, always bumping into people, picking up someone else's beer, you know, it was... But I think he fell into someone. The bloke turned around, punched him. So I got up, knocked him out. Then I think about half an hour later, there was a tap on my shoulder. I looked round, the bloke's got a 12-inch kitchen knife and just went straight in my face. Went straight through for 72 stitches. I think 32 on the outside and then inside as well. And I think that was probably the turning point for me, that really, because I was quite a pretty boy, looked after myself, and I think that scar really affected me.
Affected how you carry yourself, confidence?
I think so, but then I hid it because obviously, you know, but yeah, maybe that was the turning point that just exploded.
So do you think then, so you got left school at 14, accident happened at 25, you said?
Yeah.
25, 26. So it's like a 11, one of the things I was really interested in finding out was kind of, you know, you're in a, you know, mentioned in previous interviews you've done and stuff, when we've done some research on it, in terms of that, your sort of depressive state that led you to, obviously that evening when you decided to climb the pole. So what do you was it something that happened in that 10-11 year period? Do you think it was like a culmination of a load of events after you got stabbed in the face with that knife that kind of got you to a position where you were feeling in such a bad place that you couldn't deal with it anymore?
Pretty much. I mean, I can't pinpoint like the stuff that's happened, but yeah, little bits. I think I was doing a lot of building work, and I knew our work was coming to an end, so it was trying to find work. And I think with the stress of that, plus with everything else, I think it just literally exploded. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
So maybe a lot of little things plus that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But
were you feeling like that for a long time?
Yeah, I think so.
I
didn't think I was at the time, but when I look back, I probably was, and just hid it by going out and just being the joker and messing around and, you know, being the loud Craig that I was, you know, but deep inside I was literally dying. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, I don't think, the way I was.
So in that lead up to when that happened, and we'll go into that sort of, so I know you touched upon it already, we'll go into a bit more detail in a minute, but what was kind of, can you remember was there any specific moment leading up to that where you thought this is, you know, it was like your darkest time? Or
probably when I got stabbed in the face. I think that was quite a bad time for me.
Yeah.
But then I just put everything to the back of my head again.
So what about it was, I mean, other than the obvious that you got stabbed in the face, that's a big trauma, but physically that's a big trauma. Mentally, how did that affect you?
I think it really affected me. I mean, because I was more, like I say, I was quite a pretty boy, and, you know, I had fun in my kids, you know, going out partying, meeting girls and all that sort of stuff. So when you get that trauma in your face and you're worried about, I mean, the scar means nothing to me now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's in the past. I mean, I can't change the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, from probably, it's hard to pinpoint it. Do you know what I mean? Because
can you remember maybe the darkest memory of how you were feeling at that time? So after you got stabbed in the face, can you remember any times where you felt like you couldn't be here anymore?
Yeah, probably like a year before, because I mean, not many people know this. What I'm going to say now. Actually, I don't think anyone knows it because I haven't really talked about it. But probably a year before or 6 months before my accident. Well, not accident. What I'd done.
Yeah.
I sat in my car down a lane, and put a hose pipe up the tube, and I think that was my turning point where I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And then I thought about that didn't work. I just stunk of petrol on my car for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
And then I even looked up in the loft to try and hang myself. And then I felt guilty that my mum would walk in and find me.
So what, just to draw back on when you tried to sort of gash yourself as such on a lay-by, what was it that switched something in your head to think, I'm going to go and do that now? So I think that's an element where people listening to this might struggle to follow the thought process, because, you know, for me personally, I think, you know, everyone goes through stuff in their life. It's all relative to your life, isn't it? One person's significant thing could be something that's meaningless, somebody else, vice versa. I don't know, and I said this before you come on when me and Kim were talking, I don't know if I'd ever been in a position where I think I think a lot of people contemplate doing stuff. Actually doing it is completely different.
Yeah.
And I've not got any experience in actually trying to end my own life. But I don't know if I would have the balls to do that. And I suppose you don't know until you're there. But what was the trigger that made you think, I'm going to go and plug that hose pipe in and go and shove that into the window? Like, what flipped the switch from can't do this anymore to I'm actually going to end it?
I don't know. I mean, I had another traumatic experience as a young person, and I think that was how I just dealt with stuff. And because it's always got right. Basically, I was 14 years old, and we were stupid. So I was at the naughty boy school.
Yeah.
And I said to Mum, my mate's going to come over. No, he's not. I'm not having a friend stay.
Yeah.
She said, I've just got a funny feeling something's going to go wrong. I just don't want someone staying. So I didn't listen to my mum, as you do. So I brought David back with me. And like an idiot, we went to a petrol station and we started sniffing petrol. Just something stupid. I was 14, absolutely. Don't even know where I got the idea from.
Yeah.
So we're there sniffing it, getting sort of quite from the fumes, you know, absolutely stupid thing to do. And we spilt a bit on the floor. And I'll never forget, we got up and we're like, shit, you know, people were walking past. So we lit a match to burn it, right? And then obviously that drew attention.
Yeah.
You know, I was 14 years old. I might have been 13 actually, 13 or 14. And then we were like, right, so we were trying to stamp it out. Didn't realise my mate had covered himself by accident.
Right, okay.
He went up, he was wearing a shell suit.
Yeah.
And he 75% burnt.
Wow.
And that probably putting all that behind, I think, with everything that's happened, it's always gone back to David. He won't talk to me. It was a complete accident. I burnt all my hands. You know, I was 13, 14 years old. It really, really affected me. I mean, hugely.
Did you hold yourself responsible?
Yeah.
Is that why?
Yeah. I felt guilty.
And is that how he feels?
Probably. But we had a school reunion and he didn't turn up. He said, look, I know what's happened to Craig, but I can't. And I think through my life, all that gap, I still struggle with that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But that's something that...
What part of it do you struggle with specifically?
Just the fact that he got so burnt and I walked away. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And he's blocked me on everything. You know, I've tried tracking him down, but he's not interested. And I think the guilt and the hurt for many years, like I say, putting things behind, not talking about it. I didn't even talk about it with my friends. It was just something that happened and it was forgotten. But I've never, even to this day, I've never forgotten. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's one of those things that stays with you.
Yeah, it will never go. And
was that in anywhere in your mind when you were down that lay-by?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is weird because it's all sort of fitting together. It's good to talk.
Yeah,
you
links together, doesn't it?
Yeah. That was being a 13, 14 year old. That was where it probably all went wrong.
Why are you looking so? Other than the obvious, you're looking to get. You would like to get back in touch with him. And so if he was listening to this podcast now, because you never know, what would you want to say to him?
Just that it just felt so guilty, and I'll always feel guilty. It was a total accident, and if I could turn back time, I would. And just to talk to me, do you know what I mean? Because that would help me as a person. But I get why he don't, and he still blames me to this day. I think, at least with me, it's. But yeah, being 75% burnt is not good, and I think that I struggled with that. They asked if I wanted counselling. I said no, I can. It's just, and I think I just put everything to the back of my mind that day. And I think a lot of the stuff where I was so depressed was the trigger point. I think.
Do you think that was the starting point then?
Pretty much, definitely.
Because a lot of people have I'm not going to profess to be a specialist in psychology or anything like that.
No.
But you read a lot of stuff, you speak to a lot of people, and it's there's always a reason why someone inherently behaves in a certain way, whether it's upbringing, or whether it's parents, or whether it's
Yeah.
you know, a trigger event that's happened when they were younger.
Yeah.
When you're 13, 14, if I look back to when I was 13, 14, you know, a lot of the lads, we used to go into woods, set fires, drink, you know, that's the sort of thing that could have happened very easily.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure there's people listening to this that didn't do that when they were 13 or
Yeah,
14.
yeah,
It's all generational, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
you wouldn't, you know, nowadays they're all interested in social media and getting online.
Pretty much.
But I look back to that, and there was plenty of times where when I look back just now, there could be significant risk. That could happen to anybody. In reality, I know it's bad that it happened to you and him, but that could have happened to anyone.
Yeah, no, it could. And I think it's just the guilt.
Yeah.
You know, even though it wasn't my fault, but I lit the match. But I didn't know he was covered in petrol. You know, it was just a complete accident. But yeah, and then I think growing up, I always had that. There's never a day where I don't think about him.
Yeah.
And it was just eating me up, I think.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point that, you know, he's obviously not wanting, and I get that if that's what.
Is that hard? Is that the point you find hard to deal with? The fact that he just doesn't want to know.
Pretty much, yeah, because I can't apologise. You know what I mean? Even though it wasn't my fault, it was both our fault. We
You're both there, and yeah.
Yeah, it was just one of them. You know, I'm not blaming him, and you know, it's just one of them things. But that was probably with my depression. I think that's when at a young age, being depressed. But then I become a clown, this loud and proud and covering it all.
Cover it up, yeah.
Yeah. And
So back then when you were doing all of that, was that because that was how you dealt with it? You just
Pretty
put it to the
much.
back of the mind and just be a joker? Or was it kind of... Because a lot of people say back then, you know, there was no support for sort of... There's no one talking about feelings, people's mental health, especially in men and stuff like that. So what was the support like when you were going through that?
I had no support whatsoever, you know. I think I was asked if I wanted to speak to a counsellor, and I was like, well, no, that's not going to... At the time, you know, being a young man, probably just going through puberty, you know, it weren't the thing to do. But, yeah, I mean, there was nothing really with mental health and stuff like that, you know, especially now it's starting to be a lot more looked at and stuff.
So we'll get into the mental health side of it in a minute, because I know you're doing some positive things at the moment to kind of really push the envelope on that, which I think we definitely need to talk about a bit later on, because there's some fantastic work you're doing at the moment. I think it's only going to get more as your exposure in the world gets more with your bowls and stuff like that as well. When that happened, what happened with like family and stuff like that? So if you're the kind of, it sounds like have been kind of the fall guy for that particular accident. How did that affect you, like mum, brothers? Did they, you know, what was the support network? So you didn't really have any support from, you know, anything that was available in society, but what was it like in terms of your family? Like, did they go against you? Were they for you?
Not really. I mean, it was sort of like, it wasn't really talked about, you know. I think my brother had a go at me because I used his coat to put him out. That was, yeah. You know, and that would always stick with me, you know. Not that, oh, you're all right, you know. He was annoyed that I used his jacket, but yeah, it weren't really talked about. To be fair,
have you talk about it now?
Not really. Nah. I don't know why.
What do you think? Think that's you not wanting to talk
Probably.
about it, or them thinking it's an awkward
bit
topic?
Of both, maybe. Bit of both there.
Because I think that's quite interesting when you talk about mental health. Like I said, we'll go onto it more in detail in a bit, but there's two sides to it. You know, people have this phrase now where it's good to talk, you need to talk. But for me, it's kind of a bit of a buzzword comment, isn't it? Sometimes it's not easy to talk.
No, it's not easy.
Sometimes you know someone's struggling, and you're waiting for them to talk, and it's like, well, actually, you've got a responsibility if you know that someone's struggling to maybe open up the conversation around it, so they feel comfortable to talk. Because they might not have the strength to talk about what they want to talk about just off the bat. Yeah. It's like getting into a lift. You get into a lift, you got a choice. You either have a conversation with someone that's in there and ask them how they are, or you have an awkward 2 minutes. It's a lot less awkward to walk into a lift and go, hey, mate, good day? Yeah? What are you up to? You know, and open up a conversation, and then you have a pleasant experience, there's no awkwardness, or you get in, you look to the floor and think, crikey, this is the longest 2 minutes of my life. But it's like, it's not just that one person's responsibility, I think, with mental health.
No, it's not. It works
people
both ways.
Close need to engage.
Yeah, no, totally. And since having my accident, people seem to feel that they're quite open with me, you know, and they come up to me or they tell me, you know, because I stand out more than your average person, you know. So people do open up to me a lot. which is nice. But yeah, no, with the David thing, I mean, there's close friends I talk about to it.
Yeah.
They understand, obviously. But then, like I say, now you can't dwell on the past because you can't change the past.
Yeah.
You know, it was awful. Yeah, don't get me wrong, but I've got to try and do better and be a better person and
Feel
help
you got
other
something
people.
good to give back now. Like there's a real,
Pretty
because of
much.
those bits, maybe that element of guilt you want to try and make up for that by
Yeah,
doing
definitely.
good and putting some good back into.
Yeah, no, definitely. And if I can help other people, then it's, I'll be an open book. I've got nothing to hide. I've got nothing, it's been a long time since I talked about David.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's nice. I feel a bit better. It's like a weight's been lifted
Yeah.
off just chatting with you with it.
Yeah.
So it goes to show, that little 5 minutes of talking about that has actually made me feel a lot better in myself.
Yeah.
But deep down, obviously, it's something that I'll probably have to live with the rest of my life. But to be open and talk about it, you're not putting it in the back of your mind, and your brain's not going to explode like putting a present in a box.
Yeah.
In
So
the
you mentioned you
cupboard.
had a couple of times where you kind of, you lay by bits and you were thinking about going up to the loft and it kind of stopped you because of the guilt of your mum finding you and stuff like
Not
that.
many people know that either. I think you're the first person that I've actually talked about.
Does your mum know that?
No.
Okay.
No.
What do you think she'd say, hearing you say that?
I wouldn't want her to know. To be fair, she went through a lot while I was in hospital, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She still struggles with me being like this. But she knows I'm happier. But she, mentally, she had a nervous breakdown.
That was what I was interested in really asking you about as well, is with everything that's gone on generally, obviously we'll dig into the nights of that event in a bit more detail and what you can remember and stuff like that and what you're doing now in a bit. But how do you think that these events, whether it be the David thing, whether it be, other kind of triggers that have happened and events that have happened in your life, how has that affected your nearest and dearest, like your mum?
It's probably affected her a lot, I would have thought. Well, especially after my accident. I mean, she's on antidepressants now because of it, and I feel guilty for that because I've put her through so much crap. But I'm the youngest, and I'll always be her baby. I see my mum 2 or 3 times a week. I'm very close with my mum.
Yeah.
But I feel guilty for that, for putting her through it. But at the time when I'd done what I'd done, I thought I was doing everyone a favour. I mean, some people say it could be quite selfish, trying to take your own life. But at that time, in that dark place, I thought everyone else was better off without me.
See, I think that is an area where I personally want to listen and learn about how that comes about. Because I think if anybody's like me listening to this, when it goes out, is the struggle to not just struggle to understand how I would be in that position and how I don't understand and compute how I would go and do something like that, as in I don't think I'd ever have the balls or the strength to say that's what I'm going to do, but how things can be that bad that you think the only way out is to just get rid of the problem, which is me.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever... I mean, look, everyone has dark times, but I don't think I've ever been in that position personally, and I'm sure there's people listening to this... Yeah, I'm sure there's people listening to this that have. And I know from speaking to a lot of people to do with the podcast since day one, there's a lot of people that struggle with their mindset and they have depressive tendencies, they've got depression, they're on pills, they're getting counselling. A lot of people that listen to this will have felt those feelings. Like, can you just explain that transition from kind of going from... Obviously, you've had things that have happened in your life to deciding and computing with your own mind that that's the only way out.
Well, it's hard because when I was standing on the motorway bridge, I had control of my mind.
Yeah.
Because obviously I didn't have the balls to do it because I didn't want to hurt anyone.
Yeah.
So when I've looked up at that pylon, I was that low, my head, I can't even remember doing that next stage.
Can you remember standing and looking up at that pylon?
Yes, I remember that.
So talk to me about that. What are you thinking? What's going through your mind?
So when I thought, have I got the balls to do this? I mean, it takes a lot of balls to actually climb up.
So you knew standing there then looking up that you wanted to do it?
Yeah. But then I can't remember, unless it's my brain telling me not to remember that situation.
Yeah.
I do talk about it a lot. I mean, I'm quite open about... but I ain't got a clue how I climbed up it. And not just climbing up it, you got to go around barbed wire as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I must have been so...
Strange that you can't remember the climb. You know, you can't...
Can't remember the climb, can't remember touching it. So literally, with all my life from the David moment all the way up to, you know, me being stayed at being on the bridge, which I still remembered, but I couldn't remember the drive to the bridge.
Right, okay.
Do you know what I mean? I can't even remember that.
Yeah. Don't know if it's your mind blanking it out or whether it's because of the accident you've lost it, memory, I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
You don't want to remember?
Well, maybe that. Yeah. I mean, I try and remember.
Can you remember the day before?
No. Vaguely. I was at work.
How were you feeling that day before?
Shit.
Like,
yeah, really bad.
Can you remember specifically what was shit and what was bad?
Not really.
What was making you feel that way? Thank you very much for supporting the podcast over the last sort of few months or so. We're now getting thousands and thousands of downloads and views every single episode, but that is not all. Big news to come. We're looking for a sponsor for the podcast, and the reason for that is we're looking to take our thousands of downloaders and viewers to tens and hundreds of thousands of downloads and viewers. So if you're interested in sponsoring the podcast, if you're a business owner that wants to get some extra exposure to thousands of people per week, please get in touch. Let's talk at thesilententrepreneur.co.uk.
I don't think I like the person I was becoming.
Right.
And I think that was a big part. I fell out with a lot of close mates. I think at the time I was doing cocaine, smoking a lot of weed, so that didn't help with my mind. And then I think I just literally went cold turkey for like 5 months after, and I think doing the cold turkey obviously just really affected my brain. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't like a proper druggie, you know.
Yeah.
I went out and dabbled a little bit, you know. I'm not saying drugs are good because they're not. Yeah. And I think just coming off them like I did, I think that was another trigger point for me to feel that shit and that bad.
So if that put you in that point the day before, did you know what you were going to do the day before? Did you? I know it sounds weird, but did you plan it? Did you just wake up and think, yeah, I'm doing that?
I just woke up and said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. Do you know what I mean? So.
And a large amount of that was because you felt you were becoming someone that I
didn't like.
Right. So you thought, get rid of the problem.
Pretty much. I mean, that was the only.
I'm just trying to go through them.
Yeah.
And really try and understand.
Yeah. Well, I've tried to understand it for a long time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's good talking about it. Obviously, sitting here with you. I don't even think. Yeah, I literally woke up that day and I didn't go to work, and my mum knew something wasn't right with me. I mean, she was literally ill with worry, but then I didn't talk to her, you know.
Yeah. I
just said, you know, I'm all right, I'm just not feeling well.
Mums know.
Yeah, of course
they
can
see through it, can't
they? Yeah. So it was literally that day I thought, right, I didn't even think about climbing a pylon. I just, I'm going to go to a bridge and just jump off. And that was from that morning. Any
particular reason why you thought a bridge?
And
not walking in front of a train, or
I didn't have the balls to do that for some reason. I didn't have the balls to step out in front of a train.
Yeah.
I don't think my body would have let me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when I got onto the bridge, it was the same sort of thing. It was like, you shouldn't be doing this.
So you say you don't remember climbing up?
I can't remember climbing up.
Do you think you wanted to do it then? I know you did it, so you must have.
Well,
your mind must have taken you there, but
I must have.
There must be something in there that was computing, though. You've decided not to do it in a certain way because, like you said, you thought about the other people.
Well, yeah.
If you jumped in front of a car and someone died, you don't want,
No.
You didn't want to do that.
No.
So it must have been really focused on you then, versus you wanted to end your life.
Yeah.
But you didn't want to affect everybody else.
Yeah.
Other people.
Yeah. But when then I looked up at the pylon, I remember standing at the bottom of the pylon. I remember looking up, but I can't remember climbing it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's and my brother's like, yeah, you can. I'm like, I can't. Do you know what I mean? I'd say it if I remembered.
Yeah.
But I can't remember climbing it. I can't remember grabbing it. I can't remember falling.
So when you remember looking up, were you scared?
No, I don't
None?
think there was anything
No
there,
thought,
mate.
no?
No, it was literally. I don't think I had control.
Were you sober?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was driving, so I'd never drink drive, even in the state I was in. I was never a drinker anyway.
Yeah.
Growing up, all my mates got drunk, and I ended up being taxi for them and making sure they're all safe and back home and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just that standing at the bottom of the pylon to climbing up.
So your next memory after that. So you've obviously done it. You've gone and put your
Yep.
hand on. You put your right hand on the
Yes.
pylon.
Well,
33,000.
I don't know if it would have jumped or I would have grabbed it because it was so
Depending on how
powerful.
close you get or whatever.
Yeah.
So all 33,000 volts has gone shooting through your body. And it's
Literally.
probably thrown you off of it or
Yeah.
fried you to a crisp or whatever, and then thrown you down to the ground quite a way.
Yeah, it's probably
Be a good
30
20.
foot.
Yeah, it's going to be 25, 30 foot, isn't it?
Yeah. I shattered this bone. What do they call it? What's this bone? Hardest bone to break.
Is that a femur, is it?
Is it femur?
Don't know.
Thigh bone?
No
Thigh
idea.
bone?
Yeah, I wish I'd listened
Yeah.
to science at school.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
My wife would be able to tell me.
Yeah.
She was a video. Yeah, so at that, I've got a pole in this leg now.
And that was because of the drop.
For the drop, so I must have landed.
So what was your next... What do you remember after that? So
I
next
remember
memory.
waking up and screaming, shouting.
Still there.
Yeah, at the bottom.
Yeah, 'cause you said that you scraped yourself to roadside, didn't you?
Yeah, so the road was probably about 50 yards, 30 yards.
Okay. In the middle of nowhere or public?
Pretty
or?
much, no, in the middle of a back sort of road from Newport to Gaya, so it's a
Okay.
little back street there.
And what was, so you said you were screaming, so is that just shock, pain? What's the emotions there?
Probably shock and pain, I suppose. I mean, the pain would have been phenomenal, but I can't remember that pain.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And God knows how I tried. Did I try and stand up? Did I can't remember none of that. I literally remember dragging myself and then just passing out. And
You do remember dragging yourself?
I remember, yeah. I don't know how I done it, but I must have done it.
Yeah.
I think I was doing it and then passing out with the pain. I think the pain was that bad. It literally, your body just shuts down, doesn't it? So I think I was going through all that.
You mentioned you were there a while before you were
4 hours, I think. Yeah, 4 hours.
What was it? Summer, winter?
No, it's January the 16th, 2007, so winter.
Cold.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. So I don't know if I died that night or not. You know, it's weird. Was it the cold that survived me? It's weird because...
Do you think about that? Why did I survive? What's the...
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I mean, I think it was 6 years ago, there was, I don't know if you see it on the news, there was a jogger, and he was jogging through a field, and there was a wire, and he stood on the wire, killed him. And that was only 12,000 volts, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm triple that. Why did I survive it? Who knows? I must be here for a reason. So, yeah, I think about that all the time. And that's why I've been given a second chance of life.
Yeah.
And that is why I'm just so positive and I'm doing the stuff that I'm doing now.
It sounds strange. You mentioned in that first couple of minutes that you woke up and your first memory was you looking at a poster of you streaking at MK Dons, which fair enough for that, by the way. Takes a lot of balls to do that.
Yeah,
literally.
it certainly did.
Literally,
No, it literally did.
So who put that up there? What was you must have had conversations about that with like family, whoever was.
Well, my
with
auntie
you.
done it. She just thought it would be a good thing to do.
Because you're a bit of a Jack the Lad and just
pretty
thought,
much.
Yeah. That's the last thing you'd think
have you
about
seen the
waking up and
picture?
seeing, wouldn't it? No, I've not seen
Hang
it.
on, let me get it up. Hang on. Obviously, it's covered up. Obviously, I had to cover it up with because obviously I'll take a photo of it. I can't put it on my media with that out. So I had to put a bit of tissue over it and then take a photo. But yeah, I mean, that was my character at the time.
Yeah.
Even though deep inside I was dying, and I think that was.
I'm not going to unsee this photo, am I?
She wants to look. You want to have a look now. She wants to look.
That's mega, that is, isn't it? That's,
yeah.
That's cool. Mate, you were in good shape there as well.
I was right. Yeah. I was always
Looking
in the
well.
gym and
Yeah.
stuff. So, did you want to have that? No. But yeah. So that was my sort of personality. But deep inside, I was literally dying. But doing stuff like that sort of like threw everyone off. It's like Robbie Williams. Look at him, the actor, phenomenal actor, always laughing, always joking, absolutely, and more money than God, and he ended up doing what he done, and it's you don't know, it can affect anyone really, but yeah.
So you woke up, you saw this picture.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you. So when you woke up, were you disappointed?
No, I was happy. I smiled because I was alive.
Complete change from before you'd done it.
Yeah.
Because you've done it, you're climbing the thing. I know you don't remember it, but you're subconsciously doing it. You've not planned it, but you've gone and had the ball, and you've gone and done it. So you wanted to do it and end it. Obviously, you didn't want to affect other people, so you've done it in a way that is just you sort of thing.
Yeah.
But then you've woken up and there's a complete... You've not even been awake. There's no thinking. You just woke up and you're immediately happy. Is that how it works?
Yeah, pretty much. I was a bit gutted, but I knew that I had the support and the family.
You didn't know at that point that you'd lost your limbs? Is that all that you'd taken in the first few moments?
Yeah, I don't think I knew, because I remember when I woke up and that, I think you forget that bits, because you're so high on drugs.
Right.
With the morphine and everything. And I remember them, I was like, can you pull me up the bed? My legs are hanging over. But obviously my legs weren't hanging over because I didn't have any. So the feelings were still there.
So you could feel at that point?
What's that?
You felt...
I felt my legs were hanging off the bed.
You had legs
there.
Yeah,
so they call it phantom pains.
Right, okay.
So it feels like your limbs are still there.
It's your mind. It doesn't know what's happened,
Yeah, I mean, it took me probably 12 years before, because you have little dreams and all that when you're sleeping and stuff. I had my limbs.
Yeah.
And that went on for about 12 years. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
So how long after that did you meet Abby then? So
I was put in a juice coma for about a month and a half. So I met Abby probably in the February.
So Abby's now your wife, but was doing physio... Assisting with your physio and stuff through the process. So is that quite early doors?
Yeah, that was pretty much sort of like... Well, the accident was January the 16th, so I would have been... State Manifold for about a month and a half, so that would have took you to about... So it might have been the beginning of March I met Abby. I think she said she heard me before she met me. Zooming in the wheelchair. But, yeah, it was...
Did you hit it off straight away?
In
your eyes? Cause
we did.
It's usually the guy that thinks something before the woman, isn't it?
Yeah, sometimes. No, I didn't. I didn't think a 21-year-old's going to be interested in a 27-year-old that's got no limbs and arm. That didn't even cross my mind.
Yeah.
I thought I'd never find someone again. But that was the last thing on my mind anyway. Yeah. My concentration was to get to learn to walk. I met someone in Milton Keynes and he'd suffered depression.
Was this the chap that had lost all?
No. This is someone else. So that bloke I met was in Nutfield,
right?
Coming to do a talk because I think they asked him to come and see me.
Right. Okay.
Looking back at it, just to give me that sort of, and it worked. That changed literally my life, how I dealt with myself.
Yeah.
I can't remember the bloke's name, but he was opposite me and he lied on the train track.
Okay.
But he lied the wrong way. So
which is the right way or the wrong way?
Well, I don't know. Well, the train went over his legs.
Right, okay.
Instead of his top half.
Right, okay.
So where he was lying down, it's obviously run over his legs.
So he survived, but he's just
he
lost
did
his
survive. Yeah. And he was quite, I tried to talk with him, but he was very sort of, didn't want to really talk. And I remember his legs coming in, and he wouldn't get in them. And I'm so angry with him because he's got his legs there. Why aren't you, trying?
Yeah.
At least, I'm there waiting for my legs.
Yeah.
And I think he struggled. He didn't end up doing his legs, and then he left hospital. They give him a whole 3 months of medication. He went home, took an overdose.
Really?
And it ended him. But I think with him and how his depression was, I think it was going to happen. He was going to do it no matter what. Where with mine, I was going to do it, but then I had a second chance at life. So
yeah.
But it's weird because back in the 1800s. They used to shock the brain for depression.
Okay.
And the doctors reckon because it was such a high voltage, it got rid of my depression. Because I was never really depressed afterwards.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So I was going to ask that, whether you had kind of those sort of feelings nowadays every now and again, or...
No,
whatever.
I mean, I think it was... Because it was such a roller coaster. Meeting Abby, trying for a family... that sort of took over my life. So I didn't really have time to think about...
Think too much, yeah.
Yeah. And I think when Max was born, 2012, I started feeling a bit down in myself again. And I thought, this...
Similar feelings to before?
A little, but not as
you
severe
spotted
as
it this
that.
time. Yeah.
But and I thought, right. So I went to the doctors and he said, look, Craig, he said, what's happened? You've gone through so much. You've met Abby. You've got, you've had a whirlwind. And now, because we tried for Max for 4 years having a kid, that was hard in itself.
Yeah.
And then when he was born, he said, and then you've started to feel a bit down. He said, look, try antidepressants. So tried them and it made me feel better. Like, antidepressants is a chemical in your head that you lose. So with this antidepressant, it gives you that chemical back to make you feel better in yourself. Now, I was on the tablets for, I think, 6 years. Was it 6 years? No, 5 years. They were working, and then it got to the point where you got sadness, a thin line, and then you got happiness. I was always that thin line. It was never, like really happy, really sad. It was sort of in the middle.
Yeah.
So I decided for myself to come off them. So I come off them a month and a half ago. And I'm way up there now. It's changed. Even the wife said, God.
There's mixed reviews on. I mean, I've never taken them, but I know people that have been on antidepressants that haven't been on them, that really struggled on them. They've kind of, made them feel a bit numb in terms of their life. Like, they're not feeling anything. And then they've but it's keeping them in the middle. But they're not having any... happiness and ecstasy, or they're not really feeling really low. They're kind of just forced to kind of keep it. Was it a positive? Do you think the tablets work for...
They worked for a bit.
Yeah.
They done what they needed to do, I think. And then things were looking good and positive in my life, and I was more happier.
Yeah.
I think that chemical at the time helped me.
Yeah.
And then now it's sort of... now I've come off them, it's not that thin line anymore. It's up here, and I'm not down here anymore.
So what would you say to people listening to this that are struggling a little bit and thinking, shall I go to the doctor, shall I not? What advice would you give?
If someone's struggling, feeling down in themselves, and they can't be open with their wife or partners or friends, then maybe go to the doctor and explain how you're feeling. I mean, it's in a room. Doctors can't, no one's going to know, but get it off your chest. Speak to your doctor. And if they advise you to take the tablets, take them. You've got nothing to lose, you know. Take them for at least a good couple of months. I think it takes about 3 or 4 weeks to get in your system. Yeah. And I felt weird when I started. But then it was working. And it worked for a good couple of years. Is
it one of those things that you need to believe it's going to work for it to work?
Not really.
Or is it, yeah?
Yeah, not really. I mean, it worked for me. It needed to do what it was doing. I think with the whole traumatic to meeting Abby, which was good, and I was in a good place, it was good. Life was good. I was walking. Doctor said it would take 3.5 years to walk. I'd done it in 6 weeks. I was so determined, I'd have a walker stick for the rest of my life. Yeah. I got rid of that in a year.
Why do you think you did that, by the way?
Why?
How'd you do it?
I had a good woman.
Yeah?
Oh, big time. She yeah. I think that gave me hope again.
So what's Abby brought to you?
What she brought to me? Just found myself, with I mean, she wouldn't have liked the old Craig. We wouldn't. It's weird because we never crossed paths, even though we were hanging around with the sort of same people. Yeah. We never crossed paths. Just a positive, and just the way she was. She never treated me as a disabled person. And I think that was the big thing for me. And she just made me smile, happy, and she's given me 2 beautiful children. What more could you ask for?
So when did you know, from when she was doing your physio to obviously you getting on well, spending time together as friends and stuff, when did you know, or you feel something in this, or potentially there's...
when she come down to see me in Oxford.
Okay.
I mean, you don't just.
So really, she made the first move. That move to come down.
Yeah. Because I wouldn't have took it. You know,
Did she like you before that? Has she ever opened up about that?
Yeah, she's always. Yeah, she had feelings why she was, because she'd come in, she'd be hungover.
Yeah.
I'll be eating. I'll give her a slice of toast. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So we built up quite a. So yeah, she said, you know, it was quite quickly that she found me attractive. Which, you know, I'm definitely punching, but you know, for her to be interested with someone that weren't walking at the time. You know, and a 20-year-old girl, that takes a lot, because some girls can be quite shallow, but so can boys. I'm not just saying it, women. Yeah. So to me, that helped me massively.
So what was going through your head when she came to see you?
Oh, I was amazed. It was, yeah, she so I didn't have my legs, so we were in a wheelchair and we went out for dinner, and it was always that, do I kiss her, do I not? It felt like I was a school kid again.
Yeah.
Do you know
that
what I mean?
Excitement, yeah.
Yeah, so we had a little kiss. It was nice, not a full, you know, proper like.
Where'd you go?
So we went to a pub in Oxford. I don't know what the pub called.
Didn't go for a Mackey's first date then, or
no, proper pub meal.
Bit of class.
Yeah, bit of class there. Yeah, went for a nice meal, and I think we were just playing games on my phone. I think it was Deal or No Deal at the time. Do you know what I mean? So it was nice, and. Yeah, she's my rock, and she's always well. I mean, she does so much more than you average, you know, because my bowls is just taking over my life, and she has the kids. She never gets any time away. I mean, we went on a first date lunch a couple of weeks ago, first time in a long time, because started getting babysitters going out together.
Yeah.
But yeah, once the Commonwealth, I think as a family we're going to go and have a nice holiday and do family stuff, and I can sort of take a step back from bowls, concentrate.
Think she ever has times where she struggles?
Or
is she a bit like a duck on the water? Just
yeah, she's quite hardcore. Yeah, I mean, she's hardcore, and I hope she'd tell me if she's feeling down. I do try and ask and stuff. Maybe I should try a bit more, but it's so easy to get wrapped in everything I'm doing and stuff like that, but she's always supportive, and yeah, she's a good one.
Sounds like she's important.
Oh, very important. Oh yeah, big time.
Good mum.
Oh, she's amazing mum. Absolutely, yeah. She took them to London yesterday.
Yeah.
They enjoyed it. What was I doing? I was doing something. I had bowls.
Yeah.
So I had all that, and obviously walking around London, I think, you know, on my feet for that long, I'd probably struggle.
Yeah.
But she went with other friends, so she's got that sort of life as well.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Which is nice. And then I've got my bowls and my friends. So.
So you mentioned bowls is prevalent in your life at the moment. You're doing it a lot, obviously, with the upper. So
pretty much.
You mentioned you sort of fell into bowls from is it a friend of a friend that sort of said, "Why don't you come down?" Or family member, wasn't it? That said, "Come down." So how were you in your first session?
Were
you good?
I weren't bad.
Were you not very good?
Not great, but I weren't bad.
Yeah.
But it only took me. I had to learn how to, because obviously normal people when they bowl, they feet together and then they step out and do it. I can't do that, so I had to sort of try and figure out how my stance is. So I started like bowling underneath my legs.
Yeah. But
over the years, I've changed my stance like that.
Yeah.
So I'm more sturdy on my legs and then bowl between my legs.
Yeah.
I picked it up really quickly, and I got really good.
Do you think you're a natural?
Yeah.
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 Is it something you've had to really? I know you must practice a heck of a lot of hours, but is it something that you've had to really work on to get good?
Well, yeah,
or
because I was right-handed before, so
yeah.
Learning with my left hand, it was totally. I mean, if I would have played bowls before my accident, I don't think I would have carried it on, because obviously losing your right arm.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know any different.
You're starting from scratch.
I started from scratch.
And that makes the achievement even greater, really. You know, you start it's completely. It's like learning a language, going to a different country and starting from scratch. Much. It's like you're having to actually learn not just how to bowl, but how to operate with with an arm that you've not used really as your prominent one.
Yeah, I mean it was strange at first. I mean, my rehabilitation when I was putting the legs on, they taught me to cook in the kitchen and stuff like that. So you know, I've got little gadgets like a big board that I've got spikes on, so I stick a potato and I can peel. So
Yeah.
I love cooking. It's something that it made me feel normal.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
What's your go-to? What's the go-to meal? What's the go-to recipe?
Roast dinner.
You like a roast dinner?
Oh, 100% comfort food.
You're
all
a
day.
gravy bloke.
Yeah. Do a lamb in a slow cooker.
Yeah.
Crisp it off in the oven. Use all the juice for the gravy. Make homemade Yorkshire puddings.
Nice.
Yeah. Mint sauce in the gravy as well.
Mate, you're making my belly go now.
Yeah,
I haven't eaten this morning yet.
Nor have I. I had a bit of toast, I think.
Well, mate, in a few weeks you'll have to drop me a message and
invite you around.
we'll have one of these famous roast dinners.
Yeah. No,
do you do a lot of the cooking then, or does Abby do quite a bit?
No, I do all the cooking.
Do you?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's something that I enjoy.
Yeah.
She does most of the house cleaning and stuff like that, but I do all the fresh cooking and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's easier to just get stuff out of the freezer and throw it in if we ain't got the time. But yeah, I like to do. I mean, at the minute I'll put on a sausage casserole.
Yeah.
So we'll have that tonight. It's got baby sweet corn, monge too.
I think we're gonna have to cut this bit out because my other half, Sophie, will be like, "Why aren't you doing all this sort of stuff?" But I'm at home and you're working, and you should be at home doing sausage casseroles and stuff.
Yeah, slow cooker's so brilliant. You literally bung everything in, it's done.
Yeah.
And that's cooking over for 5
Job
6
done
hours.
while you're working.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So in terms of Commonwealth, then, so you mentioned before you got picked, and then you kind of had to change where you were playing bowls locally and stuff like that. So talk to me about the whole experience of being involved with bowls at a higher level now, like with England and stuff. I mean, it must be a bit of a roller coaster. You mentioned you're doing a lot of media stuff as well. Yeah. Talk to me about that.
What at the minute? What the media stuff at the minute?
What you're doing
now, obviously with mental health is a big topic at the minute. Obviously Northampton, they've done the Headfest, which I went to.
Yeah.
Which went really well. And with the bowls and that, it sort of worked together. Another bloke got hold of me and said, "Will you be an ambassador for a charity?" My partner in it, I've got a lot of stuff that I want to put out there, so I'm meeting up with him next week. I've got Sport Beat meeting me on Monday, filming me for when I get up. Yeah. With the kids, the wife, me going to sandwich land because I do that every Monday. Yeah. I'll have a coffee and a pastry, or I'll have an omelette with cheese and beans.
Put out your best undies and best pair of socks, no holes.
Yeah, definitely. Well, socks.
Get on the case.
I've been wearing these socks for about a year, mate.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's a good thing about having fake
That's
feet.
it, mate.
They're not going to smell in it. I only change them when they start squeaking because I know their holes have got at the bottom. So, so they're doing a lot of filming. Radio station, obviously, I was on that talking about the same thing with you. So
it's a bit of a media roller coaster at the minute, given you talking about your journey, mental health, and obviously probably utilising that fact that you're going to be representing your country. It's a cracking, interesting journey.
Yeah.
From there to where you are now. So, do you think that's going to continue in the future?
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. I think it's going to open a lot of doors for me. Obviously, I can't see in the future, but I win that gold medal or a medal. I think it's going to open a lot of things for me. I think, and a lot of good's going to come out of it. I think.
I've got a question for you. So, from the accident to now, what do you think's been your biggest achievement? Let's say your top 3, and you had to list them in order. Biggest achievement.
Wow. My children, obviously. Massive achievement for me.
Tick that box.
Yeah. Obviously meeting the wife.
Yeah.
Marrying her as well. And then representing my country for the Commonwealth Games. He's just up there as well. But yeah, family obviously first.
So if you had to order them,
no, no. I'm not answering that.
Sit on that fence for a little bit longer.
No, if I had to put that in order, it'd have to be the wife, because if it weren't for the wife, I wouldn't have the kids. And if it weren't for that background and everything, I wouldn't be where I am now. So if I had to put it in order, wife, children, bowls.
So you're not sitting on the fence. There you go.
No,
there's a bit of logic behind it.
And then I thought, what? No, that's
putting her at the top, and the fact that you're cooking Sunday dinners and food and stuff. She's a lucky. You said you're a lucky man, but she sounds like a lucky woman as well. So.
Well, I don't know if she'd say that. That might be a different.
Depends who's asking.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what do you think? What's the future of for you now then? So you've got obviously the Commonwealth. When's that kicking off?
So the open ceremony is the 28th of July.
28th of July. So not far then.
No,
So-
it's literally ticking away.
What sort of preparations are you doing for it?
Literally going for roll-ups. I mean, I play in county, national, club comps, and other leagues. So I'm literally playing 3 or 4 times a week, constant. And then I'm over in Kettering every Tuesday for a league that they've set up. So not something I normally do, but there's some good players, and Kieran's over there, so it's building that friendship even more stronger.
Yeah.
So yeah, it literally, I mean, it's been nice because last week I played Tuesday and I hadn't played all week until yesterday. So that week off done me the world of good. I absolutely had a stalking game yesterday.
Yeah.
Me and Bob, which was a pair competition, so absolutely smashed it. But yeah, just training and focusing really on stuff. I think next training sessions. So I'm in a big competition next week over in Kettering. So it's me, Michelle White, who's got spinal bifida. She's in the Commonwealth Games.
Okay.
And Kieran. So we're playing as a triple.
Okay, that'd be interesting. Yeah.
Which we're going to be called triple.
Triple.
Triple. Sorry, triple cripple.
Who came up with that?
Yeah.
That's you.
No. Michelle did actually. Yeah. She can get away with it. But yeah, I mean, meeting people like that, you know, they were told she'd be in a wheelchair for the rest of her life, you know, and she's proved them wrong, and she's such a strong character, even though she's having demons in herself, which we're talking, you know, she's openly talks. She's such a strong woman, more stronger than she thinks, you know. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, just constantly playing.
Practice at the minute.
Yeah, pretty much.
What do you see after that then? So we obviously don't know. You don't know what the result's going to be.
No.
You're hoping to do really well, and you want gold. Cool. Let's say, you know, whatever the result is, what do you think is out there for the future for you? What are your goals and aspirations?
Well, a lot of charity work's going to come up. Obviously, I'm going to start doing a lot of charity work. You know, I've been speaking to someone, and he's been doing all the hard work, all the fundraising. The money goes to the charity. It's not getting spent on how it should be getting spent. It's going to the top people, and that's not right. Yeah. So we've decided if we're going to sort something out where we do it as a charity. If a charity asks us for help for equipment and stuff like that, we then get the equipment for them, so we know exactly where the money's going, where it's getting spent. So I think that's going to be my next goal. I mean, you've got the championships next year.
You're going to keep playing bowls if you win gold?
Yeah,
you're going to keep doing it. That's not something you're looking to just kind of achieve something
no,
and then.
No. I'll carry on. Yeah, because that's a big part of my life now. I prefer outdoor than indoor.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll be flat out indoor again. So yeah, it's just my wife calls herself a bowls widow, you know. But it's trying to fit all the time in and doing it, and then obviously spending it with my family and juggling everything to do right. So yeah, it's all good.
So if you're speaking to, if there's one thing you could speak, so when you were, I don't know, before your accident, let's say you were 24, 25, weren't you, before your accident? If there's one thing you could tell that younger self now, with everything you've experienced and you know over the last 20 years, 19, 20 years, if there's one thing, one bit of advice you could give to your younger self from all your experience in hindsight, what would you give?
Probably to be open and talk about your feelings. Don't bottle them up, because later in life it will destroy you, and it nearly did me. And if I could turn back the clocks and talk, I mean, it's a difficult one because where I was such in a bad place, it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. But I'm not advising people to go and do that, because obviously, you know, but I've changed my life around for the better. But the younger me would say definitely seek help and speak to even a mate or even a doctor, just to open up your feelings, you know. With the David thing, I ain't talked really much about that. Even talking to you, sort of, it's taken the weight off my shoulder, and it's made me feel a bit better in myself. So even if you don't think it's going to help, it really does, you know.
And so those people that feel that talking they don't have the confidence to do it, or they don't feel it's going to help, or it's not going to change the situation. People that are listening to this when this goes out, they're listening to it now in a bad place, or contemplating suicide, or they're in a really negative, depressed state. You know, what would be the words of wisdom for those guys if they're feeling that way?
Well, hopefully they'd seek help. You know, they need to go and see their doctor. Make your first move and go and see the doctor and talk about why you're depressed and what is gone on to make you feel like that. Or even write it down. You don't even have to talk to anyone. Write down your feelings on a bit of paper and tick off what is triggered off, like you interviewing me, you know, what triggered this stuff off. Maybe do that and write it out in front of you, and then hopefully seek help where it needed.
Yeah, good. Okay, so if anyone wants to sort of reach out to you and touch base, I know you're doing a bit more on social media now, and different bits that you're doing, so on Facebook and Twitter and different things that you mentioned before. So if someone wants to reach out and open up a bit of conversation with you, ask any questions about your experiences from the podcast, or what you've been doing, or what you're going to be, you know, sounds like you've got some really exciting stuff coming up with your charity work, obviously your bowls playing for England, and I'm sure everyone that's listening and watching this will wish you the best of luck on that. And I think you come across really driven and really definitive on what you want to achieve and what you want to do. You've got some genuine goals and aspirations, and you know, coming off the pod, I think that, you know, don't know about bowls, don't know about people that you're playing against or whatever, but what I do know is you're very determined, and you've shown throughout your life that you've got a determination to succeed and beat the odds. And I wouldn't put it this way: if I was a betting man, which I used to be, but not very good, if I was a betting man, I'd definitely put a tenner on you, because I think that mentality-wise, you can tell you enjoy it. You've defeated the odds before, and you know, without even seeing you bowl a single bowl, like, it sounds like you got it all to play for. You know, wish you the best. So if anyone wants to reach out and open up a conversation with you, where can they find you?
They can either find me on Twitter. At BowlerCraig78, or ping me a message through Messenger, which is obviously Facebook Messenger, and I'm under Craig Bowler, so ping me a message and we'll go from there. You're feeling down or just want to speak to someone, I'm there for you, and I'll speak to you, no problem.
Perfect. Well, thanks for your time coming on then, mate. Appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.
No worries.